Welcome back to the Sympathy Lab Mobile Edition here on the Sport and Outdoor Media Days in Munich. The long and wonderful possibilities here to understand where the brands come from, what they seek for and what the market delivers continues now with the conversation with Dr. Rüdiger Fox from Sympatex Technologies. Very warm welcome.
Hi, Kim.
It's a pleasure to have our conversation here. It's also very much supported the Sympathy Lab by Sympatex, so it is now mainly on Sympatex to make sure that we deliver the right messages and you deliver the right messages for the markets, for what's going on at the moment. I know that you have disruptive and visionary thinking, not only for the market itself, but also in textile complete business. We support here, each brand which is here, a media and different kind of show format. So ideally we have a conversation on what Sympatex doing at the moment and what do you see collaboration platforms like this is. But before we start with the questions, maybe you can explain a little who you are and what you stand for, a little about yourself.
Thank you, Kim. I think disruptive and visionary is a bit exaggerated. My advantage and disadvantage at the same time is I'm an outsider. I came to this industry pretty much from aerospace, automotive and different industries, which probably at the beginning was irritating for many people, that I started voicing pretty early my opinion. But I would say I try to combine the external perspective with a growing level of love for the industry. And what is indeed beautiful is that the potential we have in improvement, which some people might just criticize, is at the same time a fantastic opportunity for all of us to do what we have done so far and bring it up on a very different level, on a higher level where we combine the optimization of sports with a focus on sustainability without making compromises. So in a way I fell in love. It took a while. It took some years. But I think my contribution, I try to inspire a bit with a bit of the helicopter view on an industry which is full of specialists. So we don't need more specialists. I think sometimes we need to have the outside perspective.
Maybe for a summary, before we go deeper into that thoughts, which also links to Sympatex market position, etc., you can a short wrap up. What is Sympatex? What is it standing for? What is the product? What's Sympatex?
I would say in principle Sympatex is a brand nobody should know and everybody should know at the same time. Nobody should know because we are invisible. Ideally speaking, we're invisible. We are a membrane producer, a membrane developer that actually transforms textiles into functional textiles. So breathable, waterproof, windproof, and our mission and perhaps the opportunity we have with the brand is that the material we are using is the same material 80% of the synthetic industry is using, which is polyester. So what our ambition is actually providing functional materials that suit at the same time the performance levels we're all used to and the sustainability requirements of the future.
What is your perspective on the markets right now? If it's what you say, disruptive and visionary thinking of what you are in a business role, seeing Sympatex as one key player, there's a lot of different things coming up, let's call it like this, different things coming up in terms of EU regulations and changes for textile industry. Can you sum up your thoughts and your position?
I can try, and as I said at the beginning, it's always an outside view. So in a way, it's perhaps a bit more distant perspective or broader perspective, and not to the details. But what I can see at the moment is that we are overtaken by the politics. The awareness level of the impact our industry is having in the world, whether that is in chemical terms or in waste terms or in other terms, is enormous and can't be overlooked anymore. And seeing this on our industry and putting the focus on our industry is a movement which is on one side extremely new, like 2017-18 it started with the first focus on climate change, getting more and more into waste. But honestly speaking, I've never seen, especially in Europe, the European Commission to taking such an accelerated speed to entirely transform the conditions under which we're allowed to operate from a classical linear thinking, so we produce, we sell, and whatever we throw away at some point, into a circular process. So the challenge I think we will see is that we are used to being the front runners with innovations and new styles and new technologies. Now I think we need to become aware that we actually will run behind. In 3-4 years, the permission to operate will have fundamentally changed in entire Europe, especially with regards to climate, but also with regards to circularity, plus of course the whole discussion around chemicals, where we need to align with responsibilities which until now we could largely ignore, especially in third countries. So I think we see at the moment a transformation process where we urgently need to wake up, because that's not just a trend, but it completely changes framework conditions to operate for us.
Seeing what Sympatex is standing for as a brand closing the loop, that was one of your first claims, what you put it into the industry, not only for outdoor, but for all the fields of play. Closing the loop, what's next? What are the next steps? What is there from message from yourself, but also from the brand to the industry and to our listeners?
I mean, in a way, as I said, we're a brand nobody should know and everybody should know. We shouldn't be known because what we actually want is to inspire. We want to see the things which are coming towards our industry. And we have very early started to create pilot projects by which we can show that things are feasible. So we want actually to motivate the industry to try things out. On circularity, we have decided in 2016 that is our strategic focus. Not because of any marketing things or any sales reflection, but mainly because we felt that that is absolutely necessary for our industry. And our commitment is by 2025 that we are 50% circular, and by 2030 we're 100% circular, which means we actually pull from the market raw materials only which origin from old textiles, and we bring back only materials in the market that can be easily recycled. And that is our ambition, and I think on the trajectory we're pretty advanced. There are still new movements which will happen. We will see a much bigger focus on national collection systems. We see investments shifting gradually on recycling, which is fantastic, because turning garbage into gold has been since hundreds of years the human ambition. In a way, it's with the Middle Ages come now into reality. And what we want to inspire is mainly that we all have the guts to try things out, rather than searching for excuses and slowing things down, that we actually accelerate. And I would say it's about time, because 3-4 years is nothing in our industry. That's so far I learned. So you have 2 or 3 collections to come, and then you need to comply with requirements we have never seen before. And of course the end customer is expecting us that we can manage this without compromising performance.
So for the brands which want to work with you as Sympatex, what is the call to action? What is how concrete can you go, and how far can you use this channel right now to make sure that brands understand what you aim for?
Well, I think the first thing we all need to learn is that we carefully use the word sustainability, and we have heard it a couple of times already. We need to understand sustainability in a comprehensive way. So on one side, in the upstream production process, that we don't leave traces, but that's also we embrace the responsibility of the products we bring out to the world, that in one way or the other they can be taken back and being recycled. And I think this fundamental understanding that sustainability is not a little nitty-gritty improvement in a product, but a fundamental rethinking of responsibilities is the first step. From that onwards, and as I said, as an outsider, I try to simplify, I try to take examples from my previous experiences. But when you look how the paper industry works, how the aluminum industry works, how the glass industry works, we will have collection systems where the end consumer will collect. That's kind of given. And behind that, we need to see how the products that actually end up in those systems can then be turned back into the products or in the raw material for our future products. And I think this kind of thinking, circularity in the focus, and on the process of circularity, leaving as little traces as possible, ideally no traces, is kind of a very simple mission statement we should all embrace as an industry. And I don't think there will be excuses for anybody in a few years that we are not going that trajectory. So it needs to be a strategic focus. It cannot be a delegated task to a CSR department that kind of surveys nitty-gritty improvement. It's a fundamental change in the way we run business.
Thank you very much. We will have a lot of room and space for discussion in the next weeks anyhow with Sympathy Lab and with all the future of the textile industry. I thank you for your visit.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me here.